Welcome to The Dental Brief, the podcast that delivers actionable insights and expert strategies to help dental professionals like you grow, lead, and succeed. I'm your host, Patrick Shavasty, the president of Omni Premier Marketing. Every week at The Dental Brief, we bring you real conversations from expert speakers that offer expert advice and quick tips that make a real difference in practices nationwide. Whether you're a general dentist or run a multi-location practice, we've got you covered with content that's designed to help you attract more patients, to streamline your operations, reduce headaches in managing your practice, and increase your profitability. If you're ready to elevate your practice, be sure to subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and let's dive into today's episode of The Dental Brief. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Dental Brief. Excited to have today's guest. This is going to be a pretty interesting topic, something I think is going to be very important, help for a lot of listeners. Derek Giddon, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Yep, that easy. Hey, Derek, let me introduce your company. For those that don't know, it's AirPay Dental. So that's AirPay, P-A-Y .dental. Something to check out while you're listening to the show or after the show. Derek, tell me, let's start where we always do. Tell me, how did you get involved with working with dentists?
Yeah, I got involved with working with dentists because I am a dentist. So I practiced for about 10 years in Brooklyn, and I was a partner in a pretty big office in downtown Brooklyn. Super kind of old school practice. When I started working there, they had paper charts and a pretty outdated PMS that no one's ever heard of. And so I really got to see a lot of the trials and tribulations of running a dental practice and kind of doing things the old school way.
Yep. So you've been in the trenches.
I've been in the trenches, yep.
Safe to say. In New York, tough area to practice, tough area to work, I think, right?
Yep. Well, it's tough to practice anywhere, but yep, there's definitely practicing in Brooklyn has its charms.
Yep. So out of necessity, I'm assuming you started AirPay. Does that sound kind of right?
Yeah, basically the office that I worked with was pretty high volume. We saw all kinds of insurance, DMO plans, Medicaid plans, union plans. So a pretty high volume practice. And again, really, while I was practicing in the operatory, would see kind of at the front desk just the struggle of the administrative burden around processing patients' insurance every day, leading up to the appointments, and then all the, again, administrative burden after the practices of submitting claims and following those claims and following the payment status of those claims. And so that's really where the idea for AirPay came from.
Yep. So big problem that you're helping solve that dentists have, I know they have this, is insurance verification. That's kind of the heart of this, right?
Yeah. So we automate quite a few things in dental practices. And the thing that we're mainly well known for is automating insurance verification. Obviously, or maybe not so obviously, but that's become a very hot topic, a very kind of, dare I say, sexy topic over the past couple of years in dentistry, is insurance verification and just how manual it is and how tedious it is, how much time it takes your team away from other things that they can be doing that are a bit more high value in the practice. And so, yeah, we work with practices across the country. We work with lots of DSOs. We spend a lot of our time working with DSOs, onboarding DSOs, and building a lot of the functionality in our product, like specifically around the multi-location use cases. And yeah, but I'd say insurance verification is the thing that we're mostly known for today.
Are you working with, I know you mentioned DSOs, you do work with a lot of individual dentists as well?
Yep, individual dentists across the country in all 50 states. So definitely support single practices. There we see lots of DSOs that flock towards a product like this and are really eager to adopt technology and automate these types of things, and they get a lot of lift from it. But single practices have the same challenges.
Sure.
Whether they're in network, a practice like my practice that saw every insurance under the sun, or even, all the way down to practices that are not in network with any plans. Patients still have benefits. They still have out-of-network benefits. They want to use those benefits. Helping patients navigate and understand their out-of-network benefits helps you close cases and get treatment accepted. And so, we've got all different styles of practices, from single to DSO, specialty, GP, in-network, out-of-network, you name it. Everybody struggles with this.
Yep. So not directly, maybe indirectly related to verification in your product? I know you travel, you speak to dentists all over the place, office managers. What's one of the big challenges that you see that practices are having, regardless of their size, that AirPay can help them fix?
Basically, think about when you go to the dentist, or if they're dentists or folks from dental practices listening to this, everybody knows the challenge of verifying one patient's insurance. You take the card, you go to the web portal, you log in, you type in the information, you wait to receive that information back for it to load. You have to then transcribe it back into the PMS. Even if in the happy case that maybe takes a couple of minutes, and the unhappy case, you're calling because what you need is not available, and you could be on hold for 10 minutes, 30 minutes. We hear stories of practices being on hold for hours on end. In the super unhappy case, after all that, you get a fax back. The fax machine runs out of paper. These are like all the real challenges of that folks go through at dental practices every day to verify, again, even just one patient. With AirPay, we set it on autopilot. So you set it to run, you set a verification schedule. We integrate with all the major practice management systems, and it just runs every night. You come in every morning, all your patients are pre-verified, and all the data that you, again, otherwise be looking up online is just kind of pre-populated for you and presented in this super actionable way, an actionable format. So it's just night and day with kind of the way things were done even just a couple of years ago, and what we can offer today.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I've heard from dentists in the past about insurance verification and quote subbing that out is that there seems to be a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of errors. There's people involved. Like I've seen it be a nightmare, right? I've seen the same thing for collections. How's AirPay different? Is this phone calls? Is it strictly software based? How does it work?
Yeah, so we're totally software based. We don't have any agents or human agents that are like subbing in and filling in gaps or anything like that. Lots changed over the past couple of years. So when we first came out to market just a couple of years ago, a lot of practices and owners or leaders at DSOs would say, "Oh, we tried this already. We tried, X, Y, and Z company or X, Y, and Z company, over the past couple of years, and they all fell flat on their face, or the data sucked, or the, wasn't sufficient, or, things were wrong, that sort of thing." Things are different now. I mean, the technology is better. There's more data available. We use quite a few different strategies to retrieve data. And the groups that we work with, they put us through the ringer, and we'll usually let them evaluate the product so they can kind of see what they're getting. And time and again, we hear the same thing, which is that, wow, this is a lot better than what I was expecting, or a lot better than the thing that I used a couple of years back. And that's why we're winning right now, and why we're winning these deals and winning the bake-offs.
Yeah,
so to speak.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congrats for that. It's pretty cool. On your website, you got AirPay.dental and then /demo. There's a place where you can get some pricing information. There's a form you complete about your practice and understand pricing. So I want to encourage our listeners to go there and check out pricing, but let's talk about actual costs. So what you charge and what costs are very different. So unless you're just got off of an island somewhere and flipped on this podcast, there's a huge hiring issue going on in the dental world, as everybody knows. So how can AirPay help with keeping employees, maybe cutting down on hours, helping your employees get more done faster? Tell me how it helps in that regard.
Sure. Yeah. So there's obviously a huge hiring crisis. I think it got much worse in COVID and never really bounced back. If you think about the example I gave earlier about verifying one patient's insurance in dental practices, multiply that by 30, 50, 80 patients, whatever it is a day, times however many years you're working in that office for. I mean, it's a grind. It's really tough to work in a dental practice. I think that's pretty well understood in our industry, and it's just never ending. I mean, you can get through your day and verify 80 patients' insurance. Well, guess what? When you come in the next morning, you're back at it again. And so, from a dental owner's perspective, there's quite a few value adds, I would say, when it comes to staff. Number one is, just allowing that, kind of freeing them up from having the phone glued to their ear and being on hold with the carrier, and actually being able to look up and talk to the patient in front of them, or, call patients that are due for recall or whatever it is, but something, again, more value add than just sitting on hold with the carrier. Number two is obviously that improves kind of the quality of life or the quality of work for the staff. And then also, we hear all the time, to your point earlier about the hiring crisis, that the folks that work in dental offices, a lot of them don't come from dental. Like 3 months ago, they were working in retail or whatever, and
Sure.
Dental insurance is complicated as hell. So we hear all the time that our product is super intuitive and instructive and kind of like simplifies dental insurance, or kind of simplifies the process of how to verify it and how to understand like which details are important. And so we hear that all the time. We recently released, I've talked a lot about like retrieving dental insurance data, and that's obviously a key component, but AirPay is doing a lot of the thinking now as well. So we've released something called Warnings, which is looking at all the appointments and saying, hey, for these 10 appointments, here are specific warnings of what the patient's coming in for. They've met their frequency limitation or their age limit, or there's a waiting period, or for these patients, they're not assigned to your practice, or they have Medicaid, but they also have commercial coverage. And so we're doing a lot of the next steps as well. And so again, from a cost perspective, our practices are finding really easy ROI in paying just a couple $100 a month for a solution that's pulling all this together and saving time, making everybody a bit happier, but also definitely reducing claim denials and rejections.
Yep. Awesome. So last question I've got for you,
Sure.
Dr. Giddon, before we get going. There's other solutions out there besides AirPay, right? So for those that know they have a problem, that they know that this is a bottleneck in their practice or just a major headache that they're trying to eliminate, when you're looking for help, what are some questions that dentists should be asking the companies / people that they're investigating, that they're checking out, that they're learning more about?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, again, it's no secret. There's dental insurance verification in basically every product that you can buy today, or not every product, but way more SaaS products and software products than a couple of years ago. They're usually throw-ins, even in the practice management system, there's something that, does verification, does eligibility. So I'd say you want to look at kind of like what's taking it the furthest. And that goes both in terms of who's providing kind of like the most data, the richest data. It's easy to throw in verification into a product, but it's probably not going to satisfy the needs of the practice as far as payer coverage and the data coverage. But then again, like there's lots of products offering verification today. What we're offering is really taking it much further down the field and, tying together all this complicated data to provide actionable insights for the practice to prevent them from losing money, whether it's billing the patients incorrectly or billing insurance incorrectly. Sure. So that's here now. Like 2 years ago, that was not something that anyone was talking about, thinking about, but it is here now. And so, I would just do your homework as far as like what the solutions you're talking to, what they're offering, and really is that kind of what's the best on the market and what's the best for your practice.
Yep. Love it. Dr. Giddon, thanks for sharing. One more time, the website is airpay.dental. Go check it out, book a demo, learn more. Derek, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Dental Brief. If you found it helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a colleague who could benefit. We're here to help dental professionals like you stay ahead of the curve, one brief episode at a time. You can find more episodes and resources at thedentalbrief.com. You can also join the Growth-Minded Dentist community on Facebook. Links are in the description. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and thanks for being part of the Dental Brief community.